They're going to have to go win-win to be able to make it, as 10-3-1 is unlikely to be good enough for top 8 here. So a very important match. These players get ready to rock and roll. Elves deck, as you mentioned, we have not seen very much of this weekend. Its day 2 representation does not appear to be very high, but it does have some explosive draws available to the tribal strategy, and then Court of Calling and Collective Company kind of tie the room together.
Yeah, I like this elf deck a lot. You know, Grand Prix Charlotte, how long ago was that? Just a few months. Not that long ago.
Longer than you think.
Yeah, so I was playing Jund around that time, and I played against Elves a couple times on Magic Online leading up to that tournament, and you would think that Jund is this deck that just kills everything, right? So it should have no problems. But Elves was like the scariest deck to play against for me.
If I told you Grand Prix Charlotte was in May, would you believe me?
May.
It's November 1st.
I was way off.
Yeah, it's November 1st. We have a Thoughtseize here. Take a look at Drummer's hand. He's got an Elvish Mystic, an Elvish Visionary, 2 Nettle Sentinels, Collective Company, a Forest, and a Nykthos.
Yeah, great hand from the Elf side of things. The jig is up now.
Yep.
I think John knows what he's up against here.
It could be anything.
Thoughtseize instead of Inquisition on turn 1, which is nice because he can take the Collected Company if he wants to. That's generally one of the most scariest cards, but yeah, could just also try and slow him down.
I'm going to take the Elvish Mystic. Over to Drummer we go. The draw for the turn was a Heritage Druid. The thing about this Elves deck, however, it is very explosive. It can generate a lot of mana, and Heritage Druid certainly helps towards doing that. There's an Nettle Sentinel to start. Lim will draw. He'll cross off one of those Nettle Sentinels off his list. And Drummer will wait patiently as Lim will sacrifice a Scalding Tarn.
And I think it is Jace time.
There is a Serum Visions in John's hand as well, but if he taps out this turn to play a Jace, we could see Richard Drummer put his entire hand on the battlefield.
Yeah, I mean, John left the Collected Company because he has a mana leak, which makes sense. And given Richard's hand, I think John probably feels he's safe to just drop Jace here. You know, what's the worst that could happen?
I think we're about to find out what the worst that could happen is. This could get ugly quickly. Now, this isn't exactly Legacy Elves, but it might feel like it here in just a moment as Drummer draws a copy of Nykthos. Now, unfortunately for Richard, it's a Nykthos, not a Forest, because he does have Heritage Druid and Nettle Sentinel in hand, so he could have went absolutely nuts. I think he might just have to play a little bit more fair of a game here just by playing an Elvish Visionary.
It's actually a Cavern.
Oh, it's a Cavern.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought it was another copy of Nykthos. So actually, Cavern's a great draw, because now he does actually get to go nuts.
Yep.
So there's Elvish Visionary with a green mana floating. Get to untap the 2 Nettle Sentinels. Up to 4 green now.
Conveniently for Collected Company.
Indeed. Now that is a green spell, so you're going to want to untap those Nettle Sentinels. Don't want to forget about that. There you go. Take a look at the top 6. See if 2 cards will be found.
Collected Company this weekend has been 100% on hitting 2 creatures.
6 of 6. Actual 6 of 6. Daiwin's Elite, and that's a Llanowar Elves. The Elite will bring an Elf token along with it.
And this is 7 creatures on turn 2.
Yep.
This is not easy to overcome from the Grixis side of things.
Yeah, this is not what you want to see on the other side of the table, I assume.
No.
All this nonsense out here. Now, Richard Drummer's all in, as they say. He's got 2 Nykthoses in his hand. That's it. So he can't do anything else. Now, I don't know if John can overcome this start, but he's going to try. He's going to start with Jace. And activation is Black Leaf List, and he's done. He's conceding. He can't come back from that sort of draw. That was turn 2, by the way.
Yeah. Turn 2, virtual kill.
Ish.
As we like to say, because John's basically drawing dead. He's not going to be. He doesn't have any sweepers in his main deck. He's not going to be able to lightning bolt 7 things.
Yep.
And he was already down to 12.
Richard Drummer going to win game 1 here with John Lim. Elves very quickly up a game here over Grixis control, which means we're going to take a look at the sideboards now, and we will start with John, his 3 Molten Rains, 3 Anger of the Gods. That's a big one, along with a Shatterstorm, a Rending Volley, and Instant Static Caster, Thoughtseize, Nile Spellbomb, 2 Dispels, and 2 Surgical Extractions.
So the Elves deck typically plays 4 Collected Company, 4 Court of Calling, and that's no different here. Richard has 8 of those spells, so Dispel is quite good. Anger of the Gods, you definitely want to clean up. And Isn't Static Caster is another good option. Thoughtseize is all right. And that's about it.
Other side for Richard Drummer, he's got 4 Abrupt Decays, 2 Eternal Witness, a Fauna Shaman, a Crozen Grip, an Essence Warden, a Reclamation Sage, a Fracturing Gust, an Eyeblight Massacre, a Spellskite, and then 2 copies of Inquisition of Kozilek. So what do we like here? Not Invasion of Kozilek. by the way.
Yeah, it all depends on what Richard is scared of. I mean, he saw a Thoughtseize and a Jace. Do you even know what deck your opponent is necessarily on? Like, you got to assume Grix is something, right?
You saw the mana.
Right.
Yep.
You know, you saw Swamp and Steam Vents. Do you think he is on Splinter Twin? That's a very popular deck this weekend. So do you think Richard is just going to blindly go for the Abrupt Decays? You know, it's kind of a hedge.
Okay.
Because you don't necessarily know. But other than that, I would be expecting some sort of mass removal, maybe Anger of the Gods, Pyroclasm, Radiant Flames, something along those lines. But he doesn't have a lot of help for that. There's no Burnt and Forge Tender, for example, hanging out in the sideboard.
All right, fair enough. Well, those are your options there for the players. And we'll see which way they want to go. Richard Drummer winning a first game very, very quickly, so John Lim's going to try to combat that. He'll be on the play for game number 2. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about that Season 4 playmat here with the Open Series. It is the Hoppin' Rabbit Master, a play on Goblin Rabble Master. Bunny beatdowns there with the carrots and the bombs and all that fun stuff. The way to go about getting this is pretty simple. You come to Open Series main event, you sign up, you play, you get a voucher for one of these things. Available to all of our Open Series competitors until December 5th at our Open in Denver, our return to Denver for the first time in a couple of years. And then next year, for Season 1, we got a little spicer on the way. Can't tell you, don't ask.
No, just tell me. I'm not asking. I'm telling you to tell me.
You, so don't tell me to tell you. We'll have details on that soon enough. But for now, Hoppin' Rabbit Master available until December 5th. It's a secret. I think you'll like it. Okay?
We'll see.
I think you'll like it.
The first 2 were real good.
I got a feeling. I just got a little inkling. I know you. I think you're going to be a fan.
We'll see.
John Lim going to be on the play here for game number 2 against Richard Drummer. Grixis Control, popular deck here, popular-ish deck here in day number 2.
It's picking up in popularity.
Yeah. This deck will this is what I would consider to be the one control deck that you can play in the format, because you can't really play a pure control deck in this format, given just the wild nature of Modern.
No, this is very much the Blue Jund deck.
Yeah.
This is a mid-range deck through and through. You're not looking to get full control of the game, just control long enough to kill them with a Tassiger or something like that.
Moist Jund.
Whatever, man.
Should that we
call it whatever you want.
Is that what we should call it?
think you have control. You could take off the Grixis control.
call it Wet Jund? Just saying. Fiery Esper. Looks like John's going to take a mulligan. Richard's going to keep his 6 cards. Wait patiently here. So we'll see if John Lim can find 6 cards that he likes.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking for something specific. Lands and spells are a start, but there are definitely hands where you're just like, can I beat 7 creatures on turn 2? Now, the Elf deck is not going to do that every single time, but the potential is there. So, if an opening hand has an Anger of the Gods, for example, it's probably getting kept.
Yeah. Looks like he's mulliganing for specifics, as you mentioned. It's funny because that first game, we saw Inquisition and Jace, you're going to keep that hand every time.
Yeah, that's the nut draw for this deck.
Yeah.
That is the dream.
Discard spell, protect by Jace. Much like with Jund, discard spell, protect my Dark Confidant.
Yeah, untap, concede.
Yeah, that's it. Can't win. Looks like Lim's going to keep his opener. He's scrying now from the Vancouver Mulligan rule. He's going to leave that card on top. So, they're waiting for the green light. They're good to rock and roll.
See Matthew Tickle and Eric Hawkins in the background railbirding.
Yep, getting their bird on. Those guys had a great weekend last weekend in St. Louis. Having a more difficult one here in Dallas, and I imagine they'll be headed towards Philadelphia next weekend to get some more Open Series points. Scalding Tarn is where John Lim's going to start. Cavernous Souls on Elves. Elvish Mystic here for Drummer. A Swamp here from Lim. He does have a Remand in hand as he does pass the turn back over to Drummer. Remand can be good against some of these nice payoff spells like Court of Calling and Collected Company, but Cavernous Souls will make it so that these elves are uncounterable. There is a Nettle Sentinel.
Could cycle the remand if he wanted to.
Correct. There's a Heritage Druid.
But it's pretty likely that Richard is going to play more than 1 elf per turn, especially after starting with a mana elf.
Lim going to very quickly go down to 17, search up a copy of Steam Vents.
And he does have the Anger of the Gods in hand, but he doesn't have a third land.
Gotcha. I think that might be why we see a remand here, trying to find that third land. Terminate in hand as well. Found a copy of Inquisition of Kozilek.
Oh, he does have an island, just not the other red.
Gotcha. All right, head back John's way. Snapcast remains the draw. Hand's pretty good this game.
Yeah, definitely agree. He has the tools to actually interact now.
The tools and the time.
So far.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw an explosive turn 2 last game.
Yep.
And we know that Richard has a Heritage Druid, at least for now. It could get Inquisitioned.
John a little unsure if he actually wants to cast Inquisition this turn, though.
Yeah, maybe just hold up Terminates
Yep.
or cast Terminate on the Elvish Mystic.
Looks like it's going to be a Terminate on the Nettle Sentinel. We're going to go over to Drummer. He didn't play land last turn. Doesn't look like he drew one this turn. There's a Heritage Druid. There's another Heritage Druid. Pass the turn back. Limb. Picked up another copy of Inquisition, it appears. So he will play the discard spell. The grip here for Drummer. Elvish Archdruid. 3 copies of Shaman of the Pack. And an Azuri Renegade Leader.
Okay, so probably not going to explode, but his hand is definitely very powerful.
Yes. Somebody needs a Guy's Cradle. Now, Lim, you do get to select one of those cards. That's the nice part. The question is, which one?
I feel like Azuri might be the safest one that can actually protect some creatures from Anger of the Gods.
You don't care much about the Shaman of the Packs. Assuming you get to kill all these creatures. There goes Azuri. Lim will pass the turn back. Drummer will draw. I believe Nettle Sentinel may have been the draw. And there is Nettle Sentinel. You see him play that with the Elvish Mystic as opposed to the Cavernous Souls, as he'd like a different elf to be uncounterable.
If you're going to invest 3 mana this turn into an elf, you want it to resolve.
He's going to go with the Archer this way, so not going to use Cavernous Souls at all. I'm a little surprised by that. Just pass the turn back. The draw here is Tassiker. Can John Lim find the second source of red mana?
Time is running out here.
Yeah.
He did get rid of the Azuri, so if Richard got an extra turn, he might be able to play Azuri and then have a bunch of mana up from Elvish Archdruid to either pump his team or regenerate them all, whichever he wanted to do.
Inquisition again. 3 Shaman of the Packs, so down to 2 Shaman of the Packs. And Drummer's going to untap. This game could end this turn, depending on what the draw is. Court of Calling. Huh.
I gotta imagine there's a way to piece together something that kills him this turn.
Assuming Richard Drummer doesn't believe that John Lim has a counterspell like a Remand or anything like that, then I feel like there's a way to get the job done here. We'll see what the Elves player can do. Currently, Archdruid's going to tap for 5. Then you've got Heritage Druids out there that can add some mana, and an Elvish Mystic.
Yeah, or at the very least, you set yourself up in a position where Anger of the Gods does not KO you.
There's Shaman of the Pack. That'll be for 6, uncounterable.
But now only green mana.
Yep. 3 green floating. Can't forget as well, Archer making these elves a little bit larger, so we could have a good attack. He could attack for 9 right now if he wanted to.
Yeah, I think he could chord for the 4th Shaman of the Pack, assuming it's still in the deck, untap the Nettle Sentinel with it, and then finish off John with a combat step.
Looks like he's only going to attack for 2, or excuse me, for 3 because of the Archer. No more mana floating. He passes the turn back. That is surprising. What's the draw here? He needs red mana bad. You can see on John's face. Yeah, he's just going to see the game. It is not going to help whatever's on top of that deck. And Richard Drummer is going to win the match over John Lim, 2-0. Elves going to take care of Grixis control. And for John Lim, he had his sideboard card, his ace card in Anger of the Gods, but he was unable to cast it. That's a big problem. You don't really see the mana issues from Grixis all that often come up like that.
No, I mean, he just had a draw that included basic island and basic swamp, and that was it.
Well, we're going to get ready here for our next match. John Westberg is someone who we've seen a couple of times. We're going to watch him again, the Hearthstone pro, and a member of the Swedish national team for the World Magic Cup. Very successful player in the States here this weekend, looking to do battle. He's making a pretty deep run here with Obzon, getting ready to play against Drew Iafredi. Iafredi is playing the Eclectic Company deck that we saw at Grand Prix